Welcome to CIDC Nirman, a YouTube channel that aims to empower users with current information and educational themes. Watch out for brand connects, product launches, curtain raisers, industry dialogues, and so much more. Engage with industry through conversations and dialogue, and watch out for the plethora of opportunities this channel brings to you. So join in and enjoy the ride. I begin our discussions with a chat with Dr. P.R. Swarup, Director General of CIDC. Firstly, Dr. Swarup, briefly explain the role of CIDC as you see it in today's construction industry in today's scenario.
Well, CIDC was set up almost 30 years ago, and it has emerged as the apex organization. We look into the overall scenario of construction industry, which includes real estate as well as infrastructure. All the streams are basically to be seen by us, and wherever we find aberrations or we find certain improvements to be done, we keep advising the implementing agencies, which of course majorly includes the governments.
Now, today, what are the regulatory issues that you see as a handicap for the real estate sector?
Well, the first one is that, of course, things have changed a bit in recent past after the enactment of Real Estate Regulatory Act. But I think much more has to be done. And there are issues which have to now be instilled in the functioning of real estate. Of course, the clearances of the project and the quality of the product that is actually going to be offered to the customers, because customer interest is something which is paramount when it comes to the function of RERA. But there is one more element which we have to bear in mind. If you look at the Real Estate Regulatory Act, which is known colloquially as RERA, it is actually Real Estate Regulatory and Development Act. And it is the development part which is actually to be included in there. Now, that is precisely where CIDC comes in. And we keep advising the RERA authorities, the municipal corporations, the smart city networks, and whoever is building the infrastructure, both in the real estate as well as in the industrial space. We keep on advising them the kind of changes that need to be brought in as far as the regulatory provisions are concerned. We have to travel quite a few miles.
Now, today we talked about real estate in its milieu, which means construction, infrastructure construction. What are the handicaps there and how can that be resolved, do you think?
Jayashree, we can immediately say that there are about 3 or 4 major issues that ail the real estate industry, and especially the housing construction in this country. And the first definitely relates to the quality of the product or the the services that are being rendered to the ultimate customer. The houses that are being built are basically found wanting as far as the quality is concerned. That is one very major issue. So I think there has to be a stress on that. And then, of course, the second thing which immediately comes to my mind is the impact of the natural calamities. You have these earthquakes and seismic activity, and especially in the hilly region, you have the landslides and many other natural calamities that are coming in. Unfortunately, under the regulations, we do not have the kind of caveats that need to be put in there. And that is precisely something which is troubling. I give you this example that this is the time that we have to think about application of steel as the main construction material for the houses, etc. The dwelling units are getting taller and taller, and you're talking about the structures that are almost like 115, 116 stories, and you need some ductile material. And this is to withstand the natural calamities that you have there. So there are plethora of issues we will be taking by and by, but I think for the time being, I will put my finger on the quality issues, and especially on the developmental part of it, which we go. And the third one is very important, that many of the real estate developers, they need to be checked for their quality of performance. And there is one more fourth issue which is important, and that is that even the financial institutions, the banks, etc., have to start thinking about who they lend and how they lend, and are they really performers or not. So those are the kind of things we have to see. Of course, you have languishing projects, you have unfinished project, you have the stressed assets, many other issues are there. But I would restrict myself to these few now.
What about infrastructure? Do you think there needs to be a lot more policy changes before infrastructure can take off in a big way?
Yes, in the infrastructure sector, and of course, this is a common feature you have, both in the real estate as well as the infrastructure sector. And the issue here is that where is the human resource? That is a very major problem that industry is facing today. Almost all the projects, they are languishing behind, they are delayed, and you can hear it in the newspapers almost like every day. And one of the major reasons has been that we have inadequate supply of people who are capable or people who can really build it. So human resource, uh, disputes that keep on arising out of the contracts, and this is rampant. As a matter of fact, construction is the only industry which contributes to majority of the disputes which are not really resolved as quickly as they ought to be. You have other issues, and that is the usage of the alternative energy sources. And green hydrogen energy, as you might be knowing, is something which is going to be the order of the day. Are we prepared for that? That's the kind of scenario that we have to consider.
There are two issues that you picked up now, which I would like you to elaborate. The first one is the financing part of it. There, some regulatory processes have been put in place. Some more need to be put in place before you can have good quality finance for projects, finance for purchases, retail finance, and so on. The second one that you touched upon, and I'd like you to elaborate, is on dispute resolution. Disputes have traditionally delayed our projects. How can you have more effective dispute resolution?
Looking at the finances, something that we had been advising, and this relates to another subsidiary issue, and that is of the stressed assets for that matter. There are hardly any kind of surveillance devices at the conceptualization stage, at the lending stage, and then, of course, while the projects are being executed. The banks are not in a position to really make sure as to whether the money is being wisely spent or not. And that is where we had been talking about rating of the agencies, supporting the bankers for that matter, creating risk alleviation and risk identification products that you have. We have already done it. CIDC has been rating the agencies for quite some time now, almost like about 22, 23 years. Now it is for the bankers to really see whether they would like to be adopting and following it. After all, for the stock markets, you have all kind of ratings that are given by many of the rating agencies that you have there. This is just to kind of give a caution to the investors and people like that. Why would we not look at the even the constructors and the organizations who are actually spending plenty of money, and much of it is basically the public money that you have there. So these are the instruments that are readily available. Only thing is that the agencies have to really go in. Coming to another bane that we have, and that is about resolution of disputes. Let me tell you that way back about 7, 8 years ago, the last survey that we conducted, the disputed sums only with the government projects, they used to be in excess of almost about 150 to 200 lakh crores of rupees. And these were only the filed cases that you have. Of course, there has been a lot of changes in the Indian Arbitration and Conciliation Act through which we actually resolve the disputes. But there is something that we have to understand, that unless otherwise we make our movement to go and start looking at institutional mode of arbitration, I don't think we are going to be solving this problem ever. It keeps on stretching, it keeps on stretching. Of course, there are some welcome changes that have been brought in there because there are many courts who are saddled up with the cases now. As it is, they are overloaded. And on top of it, these commercial disputes are piling up almost like on a monthly basis or weekly basis. So, the mediation and conciliation is something that is being given a stress upon. One good change that has been brought in is that the mediation has now been given some kind of a locus standi when it comes to the legal standing, which is a very positive thing. So we have been trying at CIDC through our sister organization, Construction Industry Arbitration Council, to have the resolution camps. Bring in the cases, experts will sit down and sort it out. And then and there itself, when both the parties, they will immediately accept and agree the verdict. And of course, then that is the end of the disputes that you have there. So those are the kind of things that we have to understand. Please see the total volume of monies that are going in construction industry today are in excess of about 6 to 7 lakh crores of rupees. And it's a pitiable and pathetic situation where, more than 1/3 or half of this money is tied up in the dispute. I do not know what is the current condition, but I'm sure this has been mounting and mounting at a kind of exponential speed. That is the situation. So I think it's a bit of a firefighting situation, and all of us will have to tighten our belt to sort this out.
What about insurance products? Do you have enough insurance products?
As far as insurance is concerned, the insurance companies also are not geared up actually. There are, the situations that they have to think about and apply the principles of actuarial sciences to find out that what are the new products which are arising because of the new exigencies. So, because, the complexion of the projects is changing, the construction methodologies are changing, and the new type of risks that are coming in there. So we'll have to work together with them. And I think in the subsequent edition of Nirman, you would be in a position to bring together the insurance sector so that we can sit down, exchange their views. After all, they too have a problem. But it's always, as far as the business is concerned, you always try to find out the fast selling item and which gets you the money, and that's about it, So I think we'll have to undergo a bit of a pain in there. Okay.
Today is Nirman's first interview. How do you propose that Nirman will be able to handle issues like new technology, taxation, green hydrogen, manpower upliftment, project exports, underground infrastructure, some technical advisory and consulting? How would you go about this in the future, and how is the industry involved in this?
Jayashree, I will just pick up two of the things that you spoke about, and very rightly so. Let's take this case of change of conventional sources of energy that India has been using. India, I mean to say the entire world had been using until now. They are basically fossil fuel based. Very little renewable energy is actually being contributed. And that is the reason why we are leaving behind the carbon footprints. Between you and me, that has been the reason why many of the sectors in the industry, whether it is manufacturing or whether it is construction, we are treated as a bit of a polluting activities that you have there, and many of the right thinking people, they have been raising their eyebrows. So what is the alternative? The alternative is that we should start exploring the alternative source of energy. And green hydrogen is something which basically is an answer for everything. This is something where, you have abundant supply. After all, you break apart the water, which is in abundance, and that water can get converted into hydrogen and oxygen, and you release oxygen to the atmosphere, which further improves the kind of quote unquote the AQI and the quality of air that we breathe. And hydrogen can be utilized as a very potent fuel. But it is easier said than done. There are many things that one has to understand, and that is that this technology is rather recent. I was talking to our Japanese friends and Korean friends who are basically quite a front-running countries in this particular field, and many of their services are now being converted into green hydrogen-driven services, and they are really trying to help us out. But this technology still is very strange. And you understand that when the technology is strange, there is a huge cost attached to it. Just think about the kind of IT gadgets that we are using today, the mobile telephony or, your computers or laptops or whatever you have. Just imagine the kind of basic raw equipment that we used to use some 30 years ago, and what used to be the cost. And now what is the kind of development that has taken place and what is the cost now? So green hydrogen that way is very expensive today, and that is one of the inhibitors. Nevertheless, as very resourceful people, we Indians are certainly looking at it. And my council is working at that particular field. And one of the things that we are going to be doing very soon is to start creating far more renewable energy using 4 or 5 major sources. You have the solar, which is, of course, the largest energy provider. You have wind, you have tidal, you have geothermal, and you also have the kind of hydroelectricity, which is very much in use today. So we are blessed with so many mountain ranges and water deposits and things like that. So therefore, what we would like to do is that let the ecosystem first adopt a certain share or percentage of renewable energy consciously brought into their functioning. And that is something which is not unachievable. We have been doing it with solar energy, and we have been doing it with the wind energy, and some few things have been done on the tidal, also geothermal as well. So we have to start getting the basis prepared. That is the first thing I would like to do. And we have been advising our steel manufacturing companies all over the country, and there are almost like a couple of thousand organizations who are manufacturing steel. Incidentally, in past 3 years, they have doubled the national production, and which is a very heartening thing because consumption of steel is rising. But it is all gray steel. It is not green steel. So we are in active dialogue with them as to how basically we can convert the gray steel into green steel. Similarly, for the transportation, why would we use, as a matter of fact, I look at the EVs and electrically driven vehicles, and let me tell you, because the electricity that is generated, that is predominantly gray. It is not green electricity that we are making. So you have Tweedledum and you have Tweedledee, and both of them are the same at the end of the day. So we have to make a conscious effort to make sure that even the transportation sector also is transforming. That is another thing that we have to do. So like that, there are many sectors in which this can be utilized. Matter of fact, you will be very happy to know that one of the easiest ways that people have found, and that helps our fertilizer sector, and that is to generate the green hydrogen using the renewable energy sources and converting that into ammonia so that it can be transported. And then, of course, ammonia, which is a compound where, nitrogen and hydrogen are there, that can be broken apart so that the hydrogen can be released, and then we can use it as a source wherever we want to do. State governments are looking at the kind of green cities to be created, where you generate the green hydrogen and use it, putting up that, like we used to have the industrial estates, and still we have industrial estates for that matter. So there is much work that is going on. Where exactly our channel is going to be helping people is to disseminate the information, to exchange the views, and bring in many more intelligent people, bright people who have bright ideas, to basically make it commonplace so that we can do it for the welfare of the country. Thank you so much. And the discussion was really very informative and lovely. And I hope that many more experts, they would be joining us in the coming episodes of Nirman, which is going to make the whole thing as value added as anything. I would also invite many of the startups to come there and talk about the new technologies that they are bringing in the country to improve upon our economy. With that, thank you so much. Goodbye and Jai.